Yes, I think I alluded to this issue earlier in one of my responses. That the reason why that Tallahassee had to step in is because in a lot of these situations is because we on the local level were not addressing the issues that parents were clearly bringing forward. I think we also have to notice that there's a lot of our current policies that we even already have in the books are either not being enforced or they are not they're antiquated, need to be updated.
30
Uh,
seconds.
the how to deal with Tallahassee is to have good relations with your legislators, have good relations with your executive administration up in Tallahassee. That's appointed by the governor, or whoever the governor is, and making sure that we can secure not only funding but also be a model district for other districts, so that we can see what Seminole County does. That's what we should do on a local level to make sure that Tallahassee keeps a fair distance away, but we still have our own local patrol.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
Well, as it's been stated earlier, we absolutely must follow the laws, and the board must make sure that that's always taking place. But my position is, while there are national and state requirements, as a county, we want to go above and beyond in our performance and the outcomes that we have as a Seminole County school system. So I think we have an opportunity coming out of the last 2.5 years to raise the bar. We're not in some kind of adversarial position with the state. Let's collaborate, let's work together, let's align our efforts. And the board serves in the middle to make sure that we're listening well to our parents, to our families. And so I'm very much for putting ourselves in a situation where we can constantly create feedback loops, make sure that we're paying attention to our county needs, and let's make this county go from a number 9 in the state. Let's get in the top 5 by putting our own priorities as the main goals that we have.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. Kelly Davis. I believe that our legislature is too much in the political realm to advise local schools what we need and what we don't need. I know there are laws that we have to follow. I have been a advocate for my clients as a defense attorney, as a family law attorney, and as a juvenile attorney. And I've been an advocate for students before. We need to advocate for our local schools. We need to put pressure on the legislature to stay out of some of the local things that we need to achieve and address here in our local community. I believe once we get the politics out of it, we can get down to straight what students need, what parents want to see happen. I think that we're going to succeed in better funding for our schools. The legislature puts out bills, it gets approved, but we as local school boards, we can address those things with the legislatures. We can advocate for it and put pressure on them to achieve the things that we need to achieve down here on the local level.
Thank you. We'll now move to District 5. The first question will be answered by Mr. Meminger. What are the appropriate roles for the school board and for the superintendent, respectively?
Well, the school board has obviously the oversight of everything that happens underneath it. They hire the CEO, which is our superintendent, who runs the day-to-day functions and ensures that everything in the organization is running fine, much like to our city government, where we have a city manager who runs our day-to-day operations, and our city commission, which oversees the budgetary concerns and the concerns of its constituents. And so the importance of the school board members having their district representation and understanding the uniqueness of each district, because every district is unique and brings its own subcultures and things that they need. It's very important that the board members stay in touch with that, and that they are listening to the parents, that they're listening to the teachers and staff and the students, and come together to make the best decisions overall for Seminole County Public Schools and for the Seminole County community at large, because everyone in the community contributes to the school board. So therefore, we want to make sure that we're fair and balanced and that we are truly leading from the front.
Thank you. Ms. Quinones Aristone.
Hi, thank you so much. So the school board members, we are the representatives of the district. We are the ones who oversee policy, look at policy, see what's working, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be tweaked. We're also a representative for the district, so we should be engaging with the community, building that community partnership not just with local leaders that are in our community, but also working with our parents so that we have that fantastic, thank you, that fantastic community feel that SCPS was known for so long. And then the board oversees and works alongside with the superintendent. And it's important, again, I've mentioned it multiple times, that this is a partnership. So the Seminole County School Board members should be partnering not only with our parents, our community leaders, and seeing what policies are best for student achievement.
Thank you. Ms. Fernandez.
Well, I'm not going to repeat what Joshua and Meminger and Dr. Quinones has said, because they're both correct in their assessment. And I'm just going to add on to the school board's responsibility, and what really should be their responsibility is not just understanding the district that they represent and the needs of the schools that they represent, but I think they are the very important conduit between and bridge between the parents and listening to them and their needs, their priorities, and really going into the actual schools and being present, which I plan to do, very much so. And I think it is also imperative that some people have mentioned bringing the politics out, including myself, but I think that's really hard to do when you've got, it's not just Tallahassee, it's not just the federal government, it is the books that are being purchased that have an agenda, it is the unions, and I think we need to look at all of that in order to address the real needs of our students. Thank you.
Ms. Garrick.
This is a fun question because I had this question when I first thought, hey, I'll be a school board member. Unfortunately, there is no idiot's guide to dummy's guide to being a school board member in Seminole County. So I started doing my research. I met with all of the current school board members as well as prior school board members. And what I discovered is that the school board members' role in Seminole County is to be the bridge between the community and the superintendent. We create the policies and the budget, being mindful of what the community wants. That's why I'm the only candidate in District 5 that almost got my petition signed. I got over 2,000 voter signatures because I met with voters to hear what they had to say. I went back into the classroom, I worked in schools, I've listened to teachers, and I will be ready to work when I'm elected in August and ready for you in November, and I'm doing my homework.
Thank you. We'll now move to District 1, and Ms. Krause, you'll answer first. How would you evaluate whether a charter school is performing well for its students?
Well, quite honestly, I'd like to see charter schools have the same requirements that our public schools do, but that's not in the cards. We need to coexist with charter schools. They serve a need for some families in our community. We're a district that is all about choice, school choice, and I support that. Parents know what is best for their student. The evaluations, the applications come to us, and we are free to ask questions of their board and leadership. They have their own board of directors, and I believe that their board of directors is who decides whether or not they are meeting the goals of their bylaws and their leadership. It is not in our purview. If they violate the laws, then of course we will take action, but I believe it's handled within their own board. Thank you.
Ms. Bauer?
I think charters are a great thing. Not every student can have a one-size-fit-all approach to education in Seminole County. So unfortunately, some schools in Seminole County in the public school system are not going to serve the needs of students. It's been very concerning to me that we only have, I believe, 4 charter schools here in Seminole County. Orange County has dozens. I'm very much an advocate of things that give students the ability to have their best personalized education fit. And you know, one of the beautiful things about charters is they already collect a lot of this data that we're judging them on. They do parental surveys, they do student surveys, they do teacher surveys, they do testing. They have the same testing standards that many in the district do. But I want to know why we don't have more charters, because I want to see charters grow here in Seminole County. And that is going to be one of my main priorities when I'm elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to District 2. Mr. Monty, you'll respond first. How would you allocate resources between career preparation courses and those for college prep students?
Well, I think it's very good that we decide very early on in a student's educational timeline to figure out which students have the aptitude for certain careers. I think we do it a little too late. There are some countries in Europe who start much earlier, and they divide the kids up to who are on track for higher education, professional degrees, who are on line for vocational degrees or skilled positions like carpentry, electrician, welding, that kind of thing. And there's others who go into service industry. I think we have to probably move up these aptitude tests to find out exactly what inspires the students and what makes them happy and what they enjoy doing, to get them on a track soon. So if they don't go to college, they'll come out of Seminole County Public Schools with a great education and a good knowledge of the skill set and what to do to get that job or to start that business here after they graduate from SCPS.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
Well, the career and technical education, we need to help students understand that this is intended to help them get better careers faster. I believe there's a lot that we need to do in creating more awareness, frankly. We have incredible programs that offer these wonderful tracks for students who aren't interested necessarily in going into attending a college or a university. A big shift that I think we need to make, and this has to do with awareness and education, is helping students see that these aren't just cool electives that they can take, but this is actually a career track that they can get on board, and that they don't have to go to college or university if that's not for them. So as a school board member, I am 100% committed to raising the awareness of these opportunities and finding ways to engage students who are interested in, who might or might not be interested in college, help them find the right track for their talents and skills.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. Kelly Davis. I am truly afraid of things like labeling students at a very early age as to whether they're going to be on track for vocational type education or for a college bound type education. Children make changes throughout their whole educational career. They have likes and dislikes that they had when they were children to the middle school and the high school level, where now their interests are totally different. These vocational resource educational skills, they are not lower level education students. These are very smart students who still need classes that are focused toward upper learning education. We have all kind of programs, mechanics, air conditioning, that takes a super skill. And by going to college or even a community type college, they're going to enhance those skills and they're going to be able to reach upper management in those programs. They're going to be able to run the business one day. We don't want to say and label these students as less educated if they have to go into a vocational program. It just needs just as much skill. You're only focusing it in a limited area. And we need to give kids a chance to change their mind as they grow older. We need to give them a chance to decide what they want to do.
Time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I rebut, ma'am?
No, we're going to Mr. Evans.
I never said anyone was uneducated if they were tested earlier.
Mr. Evans, your response.
Absolutely. I think this is really a two-pronged answer. The first is we must, and I think Seminole County has begun to start this transition, but we must make it okay to not go to college. Whether a child wants to go to vocational or upper learning in college, either choice is absolutely okay. And we need to make sure that the students understand that from middle school on. Now, to actually answer the question, which is how would I allocate the resources, I think you have to poll both the students and the parents. Students will typically take what their parents want. If my mom or dad says, hey, you need to go to college, chances are, whether I want to or not, I'm probably going to college. So we need to have a mixture of that so we can allocate it based on the needs for both the parents and the students and see how those surveys respond to each other in terms of how the actual allocation should be spent. But I think the first and foremost we need to really emphasize these programs of emphasis like our HVAC and our mechanics and our nursing to show that there is a wide realm of possibilities out there in the career world.
Thank you. The next question is for District 5, and it gets pretty specific, but does highlight one of the innovative programs that Seminole County has. Ms. Quinones Aristone, you'll answer first. Have you visited one of the physics buses, and what are your thoughts on increasing the number of buses so more students can benefit?
Thank you so much for that question. I have not, I will be perfectly honest with you, I have not visited one of the physics buses, but I look forward to visiting the physics bus in the future to get more information on this program. Thank you.
Ms. Fernandez.
As of yet, I have not visited the physics buses, but in terms of just the buses in general, I think that there are a few things with the buses. I want to make sure that they're available for the students that need the busing, and also looking into, as I've heard, that they're making the buses more cleaner at the moment, because it has been brought up before as an issue, is that with inflation now, we have in the budget concerns also the gas for the buses. So that's going to impact our budget. So I'd like to see an increase in the service, and I plan on visiting the physics buses soon. Thank you.
Ms. Garrick.
Sadly, no, I have not visited the physics buses. However, I have had the opportunity to visit several of our elementary schools over the past semester, and am pleased to tell you that not only do we have hands-on opportunities with physics, but we have hands-on opportunities with gardens at some of our schools that pre-COVID I did not see. So there's a robust garden at Goldsboro, at Winter Springs Elementary, at I'm going to say Sanford Middle School. I'm all about hands-on education. As a former Odyssey of the Mind coach, hands-on and creative problem solving gets kids engaged, and I look forward to visiting the physics buses.
Thank you, Mr. Meminger.
Agreed. That is a very specific question, and no, I have not personally visited the physics bus, but I did see it and kind of watched it virtually of how it was taking place, and it looks like it's a phenomenal hands-on opportunity because we do have a lot of hands-on opportunities within a lot of our schools. So having worked in all the elementary schools here in Sanford on a day-to-day basis, seeing the opportunities our children have to do so many different arts and crafts, like the space labs, for instance, at Goldsboro Elementary, which is phenomenal. And I think this is one of the many things we have available that provide our children with that opportunity. And hopefully the physics buses will also make sure they hit every elementary school so that every child has an opportunity to visit it, because, well, it's a fantastic tool. I think it's great.
As I told you at the beginning of the program, these questions were all generated from the participants who were observing this forum, and they were grouped together, and some of them, there were just large numbers of relatively the same question. So at this point, I'm going to repeat some of the questions that were asked to one district for another district so that we can get your take on something that obviously is very important to our viewers. So for District 1, and Ms. Bauer, you'll respond first. The question, how do you propose to navigate the various restrictions placed on school districts by recent legislation concerning topics like critical race theory, gender identity, objections to reading materials, and parental involvement?
I don't see these necessarily as bad things. When we are looking at why, I think the elephant in the room is the Parental Bill of Rights. The Parental Bill of Rights was created in Tallahassee because many parents on a local level felt that they were not having their needs served by local school districts, including Seminole County. Parents have to have the final say in what is right for their children. This does not have to be a combative experience. It does not have to be something that we are going to war to do. I think we need to work on building our relationships back, because unfortunately, I think in the last few years, something that's happened in Seminole County is the district has not played well with others, whether it's other municipal organizations or the public or in parents. We have to rebuild trust in the community so that we can get input from all perspectives to make sure that we are following the law so that we don't open ourselves to any legal situations. Thank you.
Ms. Krause.
Thank you. What many people don't understand is that the legislation that was recently passed, we already had those policies in place. We are not teaching CRT. We are not teaching sexual identity to kindergartners through third graders. We have committees that review curriculum. We ask for public input on all of our adopted textbooks. We ask for people to serve, to volunteer, and perhaps we're not doing a good job getting the word out that we need help. We need the community to be involved, but we do post it as we're legally required to do. We will always follow the law, but I want to assure the community we are not teaching things that are inappropriate, age inappropriate, or developmentally inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question goes to District 2, and we'll begin with Mr. Cooper. How do you view the balance of parental rights versus parental engagement?
I love this question. We need more passionate parents engaged. I always move towards those parents. I'm so grateful that we're celebrating 50 years of the dividends program that Dee Dee Schaffner launched just a handful of decades ago. Such a young lady with so much passion. I think we need to see more of that. And so as a school board member, I think we need to create more feedback loops so that we don't just rely on school board meetings as the only outlet to hear and engage from our parents. Being out in the community is an important factor to hear from them. Special interest groups, we need to hear from everybody. Whether we agree with them or not, we represent every single student. So my passion is to move towards the students, move towards the teachers, move towards the parents so that we can always get the best possible input for making the biggest decisions that we're trying to make and clear the path for our students.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Kelly Davis. We're always going to respect the rights of parents to know what's best for their students. They have known this child from birth. They have seen this child develop. They see him after school. They see him on weekends. The biggest thing that we can do for our students is to have parent involvement with teachers and educators and school administrators. The way we do that is by giving them more time to communicate with the families to decide what their specific child needs. If those needs are met in the Seminole County schools, and if they need to be involved in different programs, we provide those programs that they need. But we need the teachers and administrators time to communicate with the parents and the opportunity to develop a strategic plan for all of our students, not just our special ed students, not for advanced students, but for all of our students. And the way we can do that is to budget more time for the students and more time for the parents and the teachers to communicate. Without communication, we're going to be lost.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
So I think parental rights comes from more of a legislative or a policy issue, whereas parental engagement comes from the day-to-day or the actual actions from the parent, maybe enforcing or utilizing their rights. And I don't necessarily think there is a balance. I think they just coexist in the same space. You know, when you talk about parental rights, I think the thing that most people talk about is curriculum and ESE students. You know, I know one of the large things I've heard campaigning is that parents don't feel like they understand how the IEP meetings or the 504 meetings work, and they're very district led, and there's not a lot of feedback. It's really more a lot of talking to. But at the same token, I think teachers welcome parental engagement. Last year, speaking with my son's second grade teacher, I mean, I was emailing her once a week, sometimes every other week, depending on, you know, my son's needs. And I think that's really what teachers would look for is a parent who's, hey, my son's having issues with homework. What can I do at the house? So again, I think it's policy versus day to day.
Thank you. Mr. Monty?
Yes, I would tend to agree with the previous Mr. Evans that they're kind of separate issues. So, the parental rights issue has been spoken a lot about, but I'll talk about parental engagement. And I'll speak it from a very unique perspective of a stay-at-home father. Being a stay-at-home father is a very unique experience, even in today's modern age, where we see a lot more fathers being stay-at-home parents. But usually, we find that when we engage in these spaces, we usually are finding ourselves in a very women-dominated space, which is not a problem for me. I can handle that, but I think it's sometimes some men may feel unwelcome, and I think we have to do a better job of engaging fathers and engaging men to get them more involved in the schools. That's with the Dads on Duty program, just to have knowing a face in the hallways, or it has to do with having more fathers come to school and engaging with the classroom and the students. I think that's a very big thing that's sorely overlooked, and how important of fathers in the day-to-day lives of all children and students.
Okay. Thank you. We'll now move to District 5, and the question that will begin, Ms. Fernandez, you'll answer first. What, if any, are ways you can address diversity, equity, and inclusion in the school district as a school board member?
I wouldn't. I'm not a fan of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have experienced it for many, many, many years. And whether you want to call it that, or whether you want to call it dignity, belonging, and justice, or whether you want to call it social emotional learning, all of this is what I am against. And I think it is only divided our students. I think it has only hurt our students in the classroom and our relationship with one another. And I think it has caused a lot of turmoil. I don't think it helps anyone. The words sound wonderful, but they are not what they mean. And unless you've been in the classroom and experienced it yourself, then you really don't know. But I'm glad parents are starting to wake up to it. Thanks.
Ms. Garrick.
Thank you. I had the opportunity this past spring to sit in on several of the diversity, equity, and inclusion meetings through the district office. And I have to say, I was so inspired to see students, teachers, and community members have frank conversations about challenges surrounding these issues. We have students that don't feel seen because of their race. They don't see people in positions at all that either speak their language or look like them. And it was through this very frank conversation that this group came up with some recommendations to give to the board. Just because we are different on the outside doesn't mean that we are different on the inside. I think when we share our personal stories, we learn that we are more alike than different.
Thank you. Mr. Meminger.
Well, diversity, equity, and inclusion is, I think, already being accomplished probably on a day-to-day basis. Just looking at the makeup of Seminole County, it's a very diverse county, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I myself, being an African-American male, probably looks like the personification of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Running for this position has definitely been that experience for me. So I think what we were talking about, especially making sure the makeup of our district reflects our community, is one of the best ways to go about that. So when you talk about looking at our staff and making sure that everyone looks like the community, reflects the community, because I think when you bring the different perspectives, the different cultures, the different backgrounds, it provides for a more holistic learning environment, which in turn will make our students feel safer, feel seen, feel heard, feel like they belong, and creating a culture of belonging and a culture that's safe on every single campus for everyone to be themselves and be who they are. And that's important to me, to make sure that that's happening from a leadership standpoint especially, and I think I bring that perspective with me.
Thank you. Ms. Quinones-Ariston.
Thank you so much. So to put it simply, I am for equality. I come from a multicultural home. My father's Puerto Rican, my mother's German, and I know many of you probably already know that. But growing up in a multicultural home, it was always stressed, we are equal across the table. And the one thing that unified us was we were Americans. So whether my mother spoke German, my father spoke fluent Spanish, our middle language was American. It was English. We were Americans. And so I am for, thank you. I am for equality, making sure that all of our students are seen, are known, and celebrated, but we don't get in the weeds with different labels. I think we just go down another rabbit hole versus just boiling it down to the basics, the foundational basics of equality. What does equality for our students look like? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we go back to District 1. And it deals with absenteeism. And I'm going to combine a couple of questions. Do Seminole County schools have a problem with chronic absenteeism? And if so, how will you tackle the problem? And you might want to refer to restorative justice or punitive discipline as being one of them being more effective in keeping students in school. Ms. Bauer?
The numbers have shown that truancy rates in Seminole County are at some of the highest in our entire history. But interestingly, when the district was studying why students weren't going to school, what was found out is that students were actually going to school, but they're not going to class and they're not staying in class. That is a problem, and I think one of the main reasons that's occurring is because we do not keep enough students engaged when they're in their classes. Whether that's because they're not being put in proper classes that make them feel that they are learning at level, whether they're being too easy, too hard. But we have to keep students, when it comes to truancy, we have to give them a reason to go to school. We have to build relationships with parents so that when parents are getting those emails, hey, your son John has missed 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 classes. Can we figure out what the reason is why to help them and get them help? I think that's another question of building relationships and fostering better communication between parents in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Krause?
This past 2 years have been extraordinarily difficult, between absences for students, absences for teachers. It's been really difficult. And I would say there was, I don't know if you consider that truancy or not, there was an absenteeism problem. We all know that students are not learning if they're not in the classroom or not logged on if they're virtual students. I hold a lot of this responsibility with with family members, getting their students to classes and making sure that they are attending. Teachers are taking attendance, emailing the parents. It's on Skyward almost immediately, so parents will be aware. And ultimately, it's the student's responsibility to be in class and the parents making sure that they are in class.
Thank you. The next question for District 2, and we'll begin with Ms. Davis. Would you be willing to promote high-performance school buildings, including retrofitting, using high-performance and low-energy use standards as a way to cut costs, save energy, and improve student health?
Thank you, Kelly Davis. I would love to do that. I do not think we have the funds to do that at this point. There are more important things that we need to do at this point regarding our students' education, their social needs, and their emotional needs. Unfortunately, there are so high costs with these types of things in our schools. I'm not opposed to them. I would love to see this happening in the long run. You know, things that can occur more inexpensively as a goal to these types of things. But right now, I'm just, you know, we just don't have the funds, and I really do wish we could.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
I'm going to parrot a little bit about what Ms. Davis just said, and because I believe she's absolutely right. It's a great sounding topic, and I think long term, maybe it's something we put on the checklist. Now, what I would love to see is if I was an elected representative, I would love to see the district staff in there, you know, maybe they have some side projects. If they're able to find some grants that could fund a large portion of this, that would be a great infrastructure idea for our schools. But let's not forget our budget, 1.14 billion goes directly, most of it goes directly to salary, and it's all earmarked. You can't just take that extra 20% that isn't salary and apply it to anything you want. It has to come directly from the capital infrastructure. So if we don't have the money for it, we don't have the money for it. And I do believe that there are a lot of other, maybe more important priorities that our school has, like the rising diesel costs for busing, like our students that are underperforming. There's just way more important ideas that I think need to come before that, unless we can get grant funding for it.
Thank you. Mr. Monty?
Yes, thank you. It all sounds nice, and I think you know that if you can look at most people who probably own Teslas are probably people in the higher income areas. So, a lot of these green energy things are really great, but it comes down to it's a luxury item. And we have a lot of basic blocking and tackling and needs we need to take care of way before we do that, even though it's a good goal to reach and always save money and be efficient as possible. But that being said, I think the best way to really approach a lot of these things is to really use our resources more efficiently, in the sense of allocating staff, making sure we have the right technology. And especially I've noticed, when I was up in Sanford talking to voters, I was deeply concerned that there's a good portion of Sanford does not have high-speed internet access. How are you not going to have these students to have access to high-speed Wi-Fi in their neighborhoods is a failing, because then they can't access the resources outside of school to do their homework or do any research projects or actually access the library. So I think that's something we should more focus on than green energy.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
Well, a lot's already been said, but what I will say is I love the out-of-the-box thinking on this question. I believe anytime we can be innovative with education, especially with the type of students that we have now that are so technically savvy and so well-versed on ways to improve efficiency and how we operate as a community. So I love the question. I do think as a board, we're going to be combing through very carefully the budget, and there's not a lot of dollars that we can squeeze out of an already tight budget. So I would say we'd have to prioritize other things ahead of something like this. But I do think this is a time in our country where innovative thinking on ways to improve our education, whether that's in buildings or in how we teach students, this is the time for it. So I do love the question.
Thank you. The next question, which is for District 5, will be the last question on this roundabout of questions. And we'll begin with Ms. Garrick. Please comment on the use of technology in the schools and what additional efforts should be made.
Well, I think that we absolutely need to be mindful of the times. And so it behooves us to make sure that we're up to date with technology and that our kids are prepared to move forward, whether it's in a collegiate setting or whether it's in a vocational setting. However, if we're talking about phones in the classroom, that is a huge issue. Over and over, we've heard about concerns about parents having rights in the classroom. I think we really need to talk about responsibilities as well. If kids are going to have phones, we need to make sure that that there are parameters. There's a lot of bullying that's happening via social media. There are really inappropriate things being brought into the classroom, far more than you would ever find in any of our libraries or in our curriculum. So technology for the future and for jobs, good. For phones,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Meminger?
Absolutely advocate for more technology in terms of how we help our students engage and how they learn. I think the more we add, the better it'll be, because going forward, that's where the world is moving. That's the world they live in. They live in a very technologically advanced age. Unfortunately, I feel old some days and I don't like it. And I would say personally for me, though, I would push towards school safety when we talk technology, because there are now a lot of phenomenal programs, a lot of phenomenal things that we can do to upgrade and enhance our campuses that would greatly add to school safety. And so school safety being my priority, school safety is what I'm going to beat that drum for. I want to be that voice for that. And I think our campuses will benefit greatly from a lot of the technological advancements that are available to law enforcement and to public schools everywhere to help secure our campuses. And those are the things that I'm looking to advocate for and add on to each and every campus going forward, and in the new campuses that we build, because there will be some coming forward in the future as we grow as a population here in Seminole County. So our infrastructure and technology is going to be crucial.
Ms. Quinones-Aristone.
Thank you so much. Well, the infrastructure, technology infrastructure in SCPS is lacking. It's beyond outdated. If you have a child who's currently in the school system, especially if they have any standardized testing in the high school level, you will hear, I'm sure, many stories. I could tell you tons of stories just from a personal perspective where students have to break up testing over long periods of time because the technology, the infrastructure cannot handle all of these students testing at the same time. In other counties, they absolutely can. In Seminole County Public Schools, I'm going to be frank, they cannot. There's lots of hiccups. And adding technology into the classroom, I think it's great. I think that is something we need to look towards, but we also need to make sure that the funds are there. So when the technology needs to have maintenance, needs to be updated again, that there is funding for that. There's nothing worse than being a teacher in the classroom and your technology does not work. So infrastructure, absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Fernandez.
I guess from one teacher to another, we can sympathize with each other. There is nothing more frustrating than being in the classroom and having your technology fail on you. I do not think more is necessarily better. I think we need to be as up to date as possible on the technology. I think we need to be careful not to shop around, really, and to see what fits best. And that does not necessarily mean it has to be universal for all of the schools. I think we need to look at what system works best for each individual schools. And I think that there is a place for the phones. I have not, believe it or not, in many, many years, have not had such a big issue with students using their phones. I find that most of them use it responsibly, including my own children who use it for schoolwork and use it appropriately in the classroom. So I think we need to find a balance. And I think that, again, needs to be discussed with the educators and with the community at large. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to now move to closing statements, and we'll begin with the candidates from District 1. Ms. Kraus.
Well, I'd like to thank the League and SCPS PTSA for hosting this event. It has truly been my honor to serve our district for the past 3.5 years. 2 of those years have been extraordinarily difficult, and I think we need to look forward. We need to build on the great foundation that our district has. You know, there are some needs in our district. I'm not trying to hide from those, but we will address those. We will target down and student by student meet them where they are so that they can achieve success. I am student focused, I am teacher focused, and I hope that parents know that I'm accessible. My cell phone's on everything. Please vote for Christine Kraus, District 1, Seminole County School Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bauer.
People come to Seminole County because of our schools. We have to give them reasons to stay. Setting the tempo from day one, I vow to all of the voters, as I hope to earn your vote on August 23rd, that we will hit the ground running to bring parents into the classrooms, respect their rights, pay our teachers properly, and above all, maintain a fiscal conservative outlook so that the district remains within its financial means. I ask for your vote on August 23rd. Please remember to vote Deborah Bauer for District 1. Thank you.
Closing comments from the District 2 candidates. Mr. Monty.
Yes, thank you to the League of Women Voters and the county PTA. Thank you so much. I'd like to bring what I bring to the table is my business experience, and that's what I bring to the management of the systems and of the people of the SCPS. I have very much good experience in that area, and I hope to also remind everyone that I am the only one in my district that can dedicate full time as a stay-at-home father. So I have no other paying job. This will be my full-time job, and I'd also like to remind everyone.
30 seconds.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone that I welcome all families in the SCPS. I myself am a multi-ethnic, multi-religious household with multiracial children, and I respect all people from all who bring goodwill to the schools and to fellow parents and students. Please visit my website, ericmonteforschoolboard.com, or my Facebook page at facebook.com/voteericmonte. I look forward to your vote on August 23rd, and thank you very much.
Mr. Evans.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is James Evans for Seminole County School Board District 2, and I believe that our school system is suffering. Violence is at an epidemic level, staffing at a record shortage, and mental health in our schools is waning for both teachers and students. No other candidate in my race is talking about the same issues to the same degree that I am. I am a candidate of passion, and I am a candidate for change. I've been saying through this campaign that we need more leadership willing to shake trees and throw coconuts. I'd like to tell everybody that 18% of our schools dropped in their grades in the new year. 27% of our schools are underperforming, and of those schools, the vast majority are minority and economically disadvantaged. I'll ask you this, Seminole County. Are those schools allowable collateral damage in the battle for superior standing within the state? I don't think so. I don't think it's right. And I'm willing to fight for these issues with the degree and the earnesty that they need and honestly deserve. Vote James Evans for August 23rd.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Thank you again for hosting us. This was really a nice forum to be able to discuss things. I believe that I am the best for District 2 in the school board. And many of the reasons include my education, my fight for an adversary system. Things aren't going to go smooth all the time. You need a fighter in there. You need someone who understands the law, who understands being a teacher, who understands how to promote different programs that would assist in our schools today. My platforms are on my new website, kellydavisforkids.com. You can see on there all of the things that I want to fight for our Seminole County schools, all the things that I desire to change, and all the things that I appreciate for Seminole County schools. I've been here over 30 years. I have 2 biracial children who have gone through Seminole County Public Schools their entire career. I have 2 grandchildren coming up into the Seminole County schools, and I want ours to be the best. And I want to fight for it. I want to be there to make some changes and to booster all of our students, not just one, all of them.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
Yes, thank you for moderating such a great forum for us. First of all, I don't view myself as running against the other candidates. I'm running for making our schools safe, which is why I'm so grateful for Sheriff Lima's endorsement. I'm running for taking care of our teachers, the new ones, as well as the veterans. I'm for running and improving the mental health of our teachers and students, for building leadership and character in our students, and creating feedback loops that allow us to always hear back from our parents. We have a lot to celebrate in our county. We have a lot of work to do still. I'm committed to pouring my heart, my time, and my energy into the success of our kids. And as a school board member, I look forward to engaging all of them directly. Reach out to me on Facebook, on my website, come out on August 23rd, and elect Sean Cooper for District 2.
Thank you. And now the closing comments from the candidates from District 5. We'll begin with Ms. Quinones-Aristone.
Thank you so much. Well, I will say this, for over 15 years, I've made it a point to serve our students well, regardless of ability, regardless of background. My students, whether they were elementary all the way to up to adults, I always serve them wholeheartedly, and I serve them and their families well. And so that is something that I take a pride in, knowing that my students have always been at the forefront of every decision I've made, what is in their best interest. When you vote for AGAR, you get my qualifications, you get the experience, not only in the classroom, but working in nonprofit as well as working as a volunteer and a mentor. I also bring my teaching experience, being in the classroom, knowing how it is, not having the resources, and knowing that we can do better together. And so when you vote for AGAR, you get that unified relationship building back into Seminole County Public Schools. And that's what I'm here to do. Thank you so much.
Mr. Meminger.
Likewise, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm glad you guys invited us all out. It's been a spirited conversation, and I'm very thrilled about that part. What I'll say to the community is this. What you have in me is you have a proven leader, a public servant, a longtime public servant, that I've dedicated my life to protecting this community and everyone in it. And that's been my life's mission all this time. I'm changing hats and not going anywhere, not doing anything different, still serving the public. I'm proud to say I've been endorsed by both Karen Harriet and Ed Young on our soil and water conservation. For most folks that don't know, I'm actually a teacher myself in the sense of as an instructor professionally on all levels from elementary all the way through college. I am very proud that I have a heart for the people, and I care. I lead by example. That's been my life. That's how I am. And I'll end with a quote from Colin Powell: "Leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems, that's the day you stop leading them. They've lost confidence in you, or they've concluded you do not care. And in either case is a failure of leadership. And I want you to bring me your problems because I'm going to solve them." Vote Meminger, August 23rd.
Thank you. Ms. Fernandez.
I am a very proud mother of 8. I am a very proud special and general education teacher. I am in an interracial marriage with interracial children. I understand the problems coming from both sides, the parents and the educators. Whatever your viewpoint is, I am here to listen. I'm here to help you. You will never be brushed aside by me. Educators will never be afraid to speak up. I hope to provide them with the resources to make them able to teach what they need to teach in the classroom and not push any sort of political agenda, because that needs to come out of our classroom. So I am not polished and I am not a political person by any means, but I'll tell you what somebody said to me the other day. I've got a lot of chutzpah, and I really do, because I'm here for the parents, I'm here for the kids. And I hope you vote for Dana Fernandez for District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garrick.
Well, we have had a really great conversation this evening. Thank you all for hosting us. There are certainly challenges in our school district, and I am prepared and excited to tackle those. But we must remember to celebrate. We are an A-rated school district, the only A-rated school district in Central Florida. And education, above all else, should be a celebration about the future. It should be fun and engaging, and our kids should want to come to school. And I want to lead a district like that. There's a reason why all of the teachers, all 4 of the teachers' unions and staff have endorsed me, and I hope you will too. Please check out my website. Please visit my Facebook page. This is a county-wide election, so everyone on August 23rd will have the opportunity to vote autumn in August.
Thank you. I want to thank all of the candidates for being with us tonight. They've shared a lot of information, and I hope it's helped all of you to start to make up your minds, if you haven't already, about who you prefer to be in these roles. I want to remind you that the election is on Tuesday, August 23rd, but you can vote by mail or use early voting, which in Seminole County will begin on August 13th and last through the 20th. There are going to be 7 locations in the county for early voting, and you can check the Supervisor of Elections website for details. Also, if you're not registered, which I hope nobody on this Zoom call is not registered, but you still do have time to do that. The deadline for registering before the primary is July 25th. And finally, I want to thank the Seminole County PTA and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event, and thank you all for attending. Good night.